Senator from Tennessee.
Madam President, I so appreciate our colleague from West Virginia and his commitment to our nation's veterans, and today on Medal of Honor Day that he was taking the time to recognize them. We are grateful for that and grateful for their service and their sacrifice, and know that we are able to continue the work we do for our great nation because of the service that they have rendered to our nation. Madam President, on Monday, I had the honor of joining President Trump in Memphis. This was his first visit to our great state after launching the Memphis Safe Task Force last year. And we were so thrilled with this. The task force has been working in Memphis for the last 6 months. And as we put that task force into place, what we saw is a city that has really transformed for the better. Now, the reason the task force came to be is because Memphis, Tennessee, in 2024 had the highest per capita crime rate of any city in this country. There were over 100 gangs that were there, vehicle thefts, carjackings, cargo theft. The list went on and on. Aggravated assault, violent crime, murder. What we saw was a rising crime rate, and regardless of how much energy local law enforcement put into this, apprehending criminals, there was a Soros-Backed DA. It was a revolving door, and nothing seemed to get better. Well, as Kash Patel and A.G. Bondi came before me before their Judiciary Committee hearings, I presented each of them with a crime stat sheet. This was the crime stats of Memphis. I asked for their help. They committed for their help at their hearings. They publicly committed for that help. And last summer, we started Operation Viper. And then what we saw was the success. And because of that Operation Viper success with the FBI working with local police, then last September, we started the Memphis Safe Task Force. It is local, state, and federal elected officials working with local, state, and federal agencies, all working together. The mayor of Memphis, Chief Davis, Chief of Police, our National Guard, Tennessee Highway Patrol, Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, 30 federal agencies, our U.S. Marshal, our U.S. Attorney, and yes, a difference is being made. Residents had talked a lot about Memphis in 2024. They honestly could not walk outside their houses. Kids could not play outside. They were concerned about being robbed, assaulted, murdered, and seeing criminal gangs turn their community into a war zone. Now, the fact that we have had such success in Memphis and dropping that crime rate by nearly 50%, 50%, we are the example, the model of how you can get in behind this and change what is happening with crime. Some of the stats, Madam President, are we have seen a 40% drop in sexual assault in Memphis, a 56% drop in robbery, a 68% drop in motor vehicle theft, a 36% drop in murder. That is what happens when your mayor, your police chief, and your agencies are working in partnership, getting criminals off the streets. Now, since September, these combined agencies have made over 9,000 arrests, and more than 3,300 of those were for violent criminals, violent offenders. Among them are hundreds of warrant arrests for domestic violence, aggravated assault, weapons crimes, as well as dozens more for sexual assault and homicide. These criminals are among the worst of the worst. In late February, in one day, the authorities arrested a 26-year-old woman wanted for killing a 2-year-old baby. You know, that's pretty hard to hear, Madam President. You and I are grandmamas. We love these little ones. Hard to fathom somebody would kill a 2-year-old. This is the type criminal they have taken off the streets. A 23-year-old man facing charges of first-degree murder, aggravated robbery, aggravated assault, and reckless endangerment with a deadly weapon. A 24-year-old man wanted for drug distribution and possession of prohibited firearms. Members of the task force are working every single day to apprehend these individuals, and while they are apprehending them, they have recovered more than 2,200 illegal firearms, 1,200 stolen vehicles, and get this, they have rescued more than 150 missing children. You know, in the Biden administration, they lost track of about 500 children. And everyone said, well, where are these children? What could have happened? Because of the good work of these federal, state, and local agencies and law enforcement, yes, indeed, 150 missing children. This operation has been so successful in Memphis. It really ought not to surprise anyone in this chamber. 62% of Memphis citizens say the initiative has been effective at reducing crime. 86% support hiring more police officers. Imagine that, Madam President. Everybody working together, regardless of your political party, regardless of whether you're state, local, federal. You've got 86% of the population of the city saying, let's do more of this. And 77% say, let's build a new jail so we can keep these criminals off the street. I am incredibly optimistic about the future of Memphis. I am so grateful to President Trump, Director Patel, AG Bondi, and Secretary Hegseth, along with all the other federal agencies, for their commitment. Madam President, I ask unanimous consent that the next portion of my remarks be placed separately into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. You know, as we have heard on the floor today, it is the 40th day of the Democrats' shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, this is already one of the longest shutdowns in our nation's history. And what we know is that our DHS employees have gone 46% of this fiscal year without a paycheck. This is something that is immoral. Our colleagues across the aisle have voted not once or twice, but 7 times not to fund our DHS employees. So I think that it is incredible that they are doing this because they've got two goals. And we know these are their goals because they've been on TV talking about this. They have talked to their base about these goals. Goal number one, abolish ICE. They're all about it. They want to abolish ICE. Goal number two, they want to defund law enforcement. Now, they've been on this for years. They had told their base that they were going to find a way to do this. So they think that not paying TSA workers is a way to do this. They think that not paying DHS employees is a way to get to their goal. Well, they're sadly mistaken, and the American people are figuring this out, that what they're doing in order to punish ICE for upholding the rule of law and removing violent criminals from communities, that it's okay to make people hurt, to make people suffer. I think that it is so immoral what they are doing. Now, of course, they are fully aware that ICE is funded through 2029. If they had read the Working Families Tax Cut Big Beautiful Bill, they would be aware of this. But no, they didn't take the time to read the good things that were in that bill because they had made their mind up. They were going to vote no. Regardless of what happened, they were going to vote no. So they think it's okay to punish Secret Service agents, TSA officers, Coast Guardsmen, and our cybersecurity professionals, our Homeland Security investigators, so that they can try to abolish ICE. Now, President Trump is doing everything he can to alleviate the pain the Democrats are causing. You see, Republicans have made concessions. It was, we want a change of leadership at DHS. Well, that change has taken place. We want to end the Minnesota surge with ICE. That has ended. We want to end roving patrols. That has been done. We want to change policies around protesters. We want to change policies at detention facilities. All of that's been done. Body cameras, that's been done. What they continue to do is move the goalpost. Nothing is ever good enough because the only thing they want, abolish ICE, defund law enforcement. And so regardless of what we bring forward, regardless of what is offered, they've decided they are a big, fat, whopping no. They do not give a rip and flip what happens to TSA agents and their families, people that are sleeping in cars, people that can't pay their mortgage, people that can't pay for childcare, people that are not able to go to work because of this. They're not concerned about the 450 agents that have already turned in their badge and said, we can't hack this. We've got to have a job where we're paid every time we go to work for every hour we work, rather than being paid 46% of the time. I think that it is so important that we realize they are standing up for illegal aliens. You know, they are standing up for criminals like Jose Medina, who was charged last week with shooting and killing Sheridan Gorman, an 18-year-old college student at Loyola University in Chicago who was out walking with her friends. Now, there was a Chicago alderman who said this was a kid in the wrong place at the wrong time. How totally insensitive and disgusting can that be? I tell you who was in the wrong place. It was an illegal alien who had a rap sheet, who came here under the Biden administration, he goes out and is charged with theft within a couple of weeks of being here, and the revolving door starts for him. I think that you have got to look at this. Somebody that is a repeat offender, they have no right to be here. And that guy, that alleged killer from Venezuela, he should never have been anywhere near that young woman. Now, I think that it is also important that we look at the fact there is new leadership at DHS. Our colleagues should be willing to fund DHS and stop repeatedly voting to shut the thing down and support the rule of law in this country. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.